All right, so 4x squared minus 44x divided by 2x will give us 2x minus 22. Let's take a look at how we end up with there. So let's rewrite the equation so it actually makes sense. So we have 4x squared minus 44x divided by 2x. So we're going to distribute this in, and I'm going to rewrite this. So remember that 4x squared can be written the same as 4 times x minus 44x all over 2x. So the 2 goes into the 4 2 times. The x then divides into x times x. What that will do is it will, because there's one here, will eliminate one of those. So that what we end up with then is 2x, because we're left with this x left over. Then we have to turn our attention to the other side of the polynomial, and we get minus, we have to divide 2 into 44, so 2 times 22 gives us 44. And then we have to deal with these x's again. So then if we take those two x, that x divided by that x, again remembering x divided by x, or any number divided by any number, will equal 1 when you divide by itself. So then we end up with just 22, because it would be the same as saying times 1, but we don't need to write that, so we'll just leave that off. So that's how we solve the first one and end up with the answer given on that page. Here comes the fun one. All right. Again, you have to take things piece by piece. And that's really the best way to do it in this sort of equation. So don't go, oh my goodness, which you might looking at this right away, but it's solvable if you just relax and realize that you can only divide like terms into like terms. So coefficients can only divide into coefficients. Y's can only divide into y's, and r's can only divide into r's. And then, so that's how, if we look at it that way, then hopefully that will make things a little bit simpler. So let's rewrite this. So this should say 15r to the 5, y to the 6, minus 25r squared times y to the 5th plus 100 r to the 3 y squared all over 5r squared y squared. So the way that we can look at this, remember when we divide exponents into each other, it's as if you're taking one of the exponents and subtracting the bottom exponent from the top exponent. What do I mean by that? Okay, so let's take and look at this divided into this term first. So 5 divided into 5 will give us 3, or 5 into 15, sorry. Whoops, mistake. So I got caught up in what was happening at the bottom of my screen there. So 15 divided by 5 will give us 3. Then we end up dividing r by r, but it's r to the 5th divided by r squared. So we get r5 minus 2, and we have y to the 6th divided by y to the squared would be 6 minus 2. So what we end up with as a term, once we finish this up, is r to the 3 times y to the 4. Then we have to take the next term. So let's take this second term here. Just break this up into sections so that we can work through this. So now, if we take this, we're going to end up with, sorry guys, I forgot to write down the 5 on here, so it's 25. Now this makes more sense. So 5 into 25 will give us 5. We're left with r squared against r squared, so we get r2 minus 2, and then we have y to the 5 divided by y to this y squared. So then that's the kind of functions that we're doing. So if we get 5 times, so let's carry this down here. So the 5 comes down, it's a negative 5 because we had negative 25 divided by. So we'll be subtracting this part of the polynomial, this term, and we end up with 5r, but 2 minus 2 gives us 0, so that what that does is it eliminates the r's. So we end up with negative 5, there's no r's, and so this is gone. Then 5 minus 2 is 3, so it's 5y cubed. And then our final term here is, we're adding the last term, so it will be plus, and let's take a look. If we divide this term now into here, so 5 goes into 100, this is going to come here, 5 goes into 120 times, this is a positive, and then we can take a look at how we divide out here. We end up having r to the 3, so r to the 3, and squared again in the part that we're dividing in is 3 minus 2, and then y squared minus to the 2 because that's what we're being divided by. If we carry this down here, our final number then is 20. r, 3 minus 2 is the same as saying r to the 1, but we don't show the 1, so then we just have 20r. And then in this situation, we have 2 minus 2, which of course equals 0, so this eliminates and the y is taken out. So then our final number for this entire situation, our final polynomial, ends up being 3r cubed y to the 4 minus 5y to the 3 plus 20r. Again, remember to take it piece by piece, one step at a time. If you need to divide it out, just as I did on this page, please do so. Those of you that are lucky enough not to have to do that, then carry on. But the more steps you show that can clarify and make things visible as to what you are doing, the better it's going to be. It helps us understand as markers, and it also helps you avoid making any mistakes just by forgetting to do things. All right, we're rounding the bend. Here we are into the last question. So now we don't always have to have the same variables in both parts of the equation. So we don't have to have h in both the top and the bottom part when we divide out. So what we can do here is, this question is straightforward. So we have 12gh plus 6g all over 2g. So if we take each of these terms, we'll do 12g there and 6g there. And all right, let's do this. So 2 goes into 12 6 times. And then we see that we have 1g here on top. So we have 1g here and we have 1g on the bottom. We also have 1g over here, but we're not going to deal with that at this moment. So if we have 1g and 1 divided by 1g, you get 1 and they basically cancel, or they cancel out. So all we're left with then is h. So the only thing remaining attached to or multiplying by the coefficient is h. So we end up with 6h. Then we have plus, we have 6 on top here. We divide by 2, 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then g divided by g again is going to cancel. So then we're left with 6h plus 3, because these two g's here have canceled each other out. It's the same as saying g1 minus 1. So if this was the exponent there, then what we're in of g to the 0, and remember that g to the 0 is the same as saying 1, right? So then that ends up being all it is. So we're multiplying 3 times 1. All right. I hope if you guys have any questions, make sure that you take time to answer or ask your teacher for clarification. I hope this is clear enough to help you guys understand what's going on. There are other videos that you can take a look at. I have included for your teachers to use, and they may have found others for you. So anyway, good luck on the assignment, you guys, and I hope it's all going well.